The 1920s were, by all accounts, a vibe. We call them roaring for a reason. After World War I, the world, and specifically America, decided it was done with suffering. It was the era of the radio, the Model T, and the skyscraper. But beneath the jazz and the gin, a massive financial glitch was brewing. People weren't just getting rich, they were getting rich on imaginary money. By 1929, the stock market had become the national pastime. Everyone, from tycoons to shoeshine boys, was playing the market. It felt like a cheat code for infinite wealth. But, as any gambler will tell you, the house always wins eventually. Today, we're asking the trillion-dollar question. Why did everyone lose their money? How does a global superpower go from roaring to broken in a matter of weeks? To understand why the money vanished, you have to understand margin buying. In the 20s, you didn't need to be wealthy to buy stocks. You just needed a little bit of confidence. Brokers allowed investors to buy stocks on margin. This meant you'd put down, say, 10% of the stock's price, and the broker would lend you the other 90%. It's a genius plan if the price goes up. If your $100 stock goes to $110, you've doubled your initial $10 investment. Easy money, right? But here's the kicker. If the stock price drops, the broker calls in the loan. They want their 90% back right now. On October 29th, 1929, Black Tuesday, the bubble didn't just pop, it disintegrated. The market lost $14 billion in a single day. People couldn't sell their stocks fast enough because there were no buyers. When the margin calls came in, people realized they didn't just lose their investment, they were on the hook for money they never actually had. The wealth of the 20s was largely a ledger of debt masquerading as profit. Now, you might be thinking, I didn't invest in the stock market, my money was safe in my local bank. In 1930, that was a fatal assumption. Back then, there was no FDIC. Your deposits weren't insured by the government. And here is the hard truth of banking that we still grapple with today. Banks don't actually have your money. They keep a small fraction in the vault and lend the rest out to earn interest. This works perfectly until everyone decides they want their cash at the exact same time. This is a bank run. As the stock market crashed, people panicked. They sprinted to the banks to withdraw their savings. But the banks couldn't just get the money back from the farmers or the businesses they'd lent it to. Between 1929 and 1933, over 9,000 banks failed. When a bank closed its doors back then, the money was simply gone. Your life savings vanished into the ether of bad debt and failed institutions. So the stocks are gone and the banks are gone. Now comes the domino effect. Because people lost their savings, they stopped buying things. No one's buying cars. The car factory lays off workers. Those workers now have zero income, so they stop buying clothes and groceries. Now the textile mills and the farms are in trouble. This is what economists call a deflationary spiral. Prices dropped because no one could afford anything, which sounds good in theory, but it's a nightmare in practice. If a business can't sell its products for a profit, it can't pay its debts or its employees. By 1933, unemployment in the US hit 25%. 1 in 4 able-bodied men was out of work, and for those who still had jobs, wages had plummeted. To make matters worse, nature joined the fight. The Dust Bowl turned the Great Plains into a wasteland. Farmers who were already struggling with falling crop prices now couldn't even grow the crops. It was the perfect economic storm. We often think of the Great Depression as an American tragedy, but it was a global contagion. The US had been lending money to Europe to help them rebuild after World War I. When the US economy tanked, those loans stopped. In a desperate and frankly misguided attempt to protect domestic business, the US passed the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. It basically put a massive tax on imported goods. Europe responded by taxing American goods. Global trade didn't just slow down, it froze. The world was interconnected, and when the biggest engine in the room, the American economy, stalled, the whole ship started to sink. So why did everyone lose their money? It wasn't just one thing. It was a cocktail of over-leverage, buying what you can't afford, bank fragility, lending what you don't have, and protectionist policy, closing doors when you should be opening them. Take it needed a New Deal, a massive increase in government spending, and ultimately the industrial mobilization of World War II to pull the world out of the hole. We walked away with the FDIC to protect our deposits and the SEC to watch the stock market. We learned that the free market is a powerful engine, but without a seatbelt and a decent set of brakes, it can go off a cliff pretty fast. The Great Depression reminds us that money isn't just paper or gold, it's trust. And in 1929, the world ran out of trust long before it ran out of resources. The next time you see a sure thing in the markets, just remember the Roaring Twenties. The music is great, but eventually someone has to pay the band.